All right, doctors of our PI Doctors Elite community and members, this is a special presentation complimentary for the doctors who always join in and help and share in our doctors community, personal injury doctors community. For those of you who are just starting out in personal injury, with personal injury for years or 40 something years like I did, have been doing it for the last 40 something years. It's been an amazing trip, learn a lot, lose a lot. But a little bit about me, Dr. Tony from St. Louis, Missouri, went to Logan University. 81 was my graduate date. Hey, I served on the Missouri Board of Examiners, and I went to the Board of Directors of Logan, and then to the Alumni Board, served on the Missouri State Association Board. Also served 9 years as a trustee board member for Logan College University, implementing a lot of different educational things. So a lot of stuff behind me, and now we have basically helping many doctors just get educated in personal injury. It's a challenging thing. We do not get this coming out of school, as you all know. All of a sudden, you get a personal injury case that comes in your office, and you're like, "What do I do with this?" We're used to co-pays or whatever that's going on. So a lot of great things that we're going to go over real quick today, mostly on the surface, but some good educational things I wanted to go over. So I just wanted to thank you for joining us, taking that time out for success in personal injury. My mentors were some personal injury attorneys back in the 83, 84, when I really start revving up personal injury. And then just a lot of time in practice. So let's get started here. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Let's see if I got the right one. Yeah, so we put a great course. It's called Systematic Approach to the Personal Injury Practice. Just launched it out there, and I'm just going to go over a lot of the highlights of it. You're welcome to get a copy of it later, but let's see. The systematic approach, it's basically organizing your personal injury practice and the things you need to get done to get paid, actually, and to keep doing it over and over and over again consistently. If I go over an outline here, basically mindset, there's a lot of doctors out there that just don't want to deal with personal injury, especially medical doctors. They will give you those cases. They don't want to deal with attorneys. They don't want to deal with liens. So this is something that you definitely might want to look into as we go along here. But let's look. You got to be willing to do personal injury. You got to be willing to testify. Although a lot of times these days you don't really testify as much as you did in the past. But you got to be willing to sit on a stand and testify all what you did to the patient, why you did it, and why you charged that amount for to get payment if you keep with a lien with the attorney in a courtroom situation. There's a lot of paperwork involved. You have to do paperwork, of course, document it. And a couple times we have put in our community some the AI, automatic intelligence, that you dictate, and it goes right into your notes. So let's look at that three things. We're going to look at attracting personal injury. How do you attract personal injury in your practice? That's been the number one thing. How do I get more cases? How do I treat more people, help more people in accidents and injuries? Well, the first thing you need to do, if you've been out in practice 2, 3, 4, 5 years or more, let the patients know you do accident cases. This is a mistake I made back when I had a lot of patients back then, and they never knew I did accident cases. They just said I did neck, back, arms, legs, knees. And when an accident came, they went out to urgent care, hospitals, their primary doctors, and they forgot about Dr. Tony because I never told them I did accidents. So if you have a patient list, then believe me, get some flyers out, tell your patients, put a billboard out, put it on your loops and your TVs that you treat accident cases. You're the best for that in any conditions, in any accidents, and their family and friends, because you will see an influx right off the bat when you tell people that you do accidents. All right, attorneys, we all want to get involved with attorneys, PI attorneys. The first thing I'm going to tell you, get involved with 100% PI attorneys only. Yeah, we can deliver babies. We were taught that in our universities coming out of school. but we don't do it every day. So the estate attorneys, the divorce attorneys, the tax attorneys do not know personal injury like a 100% personal injury attorney does. Obviously, there's people out there like Morgan and Morgan and Brown and Crouppen here in St. Louis, Brown and Brown, they advertise on billboards, bus, you got it, you name it. Those are 100% personal injury attorneys. Sorry to say, but that's what they do. So you need to know whether or not that attorney, even when the patient comes in with an attorney, are they 100% personal injury attorney? That gives you a bit of idea of what you might see in the future in the case attorneys. So if you can you hit your mute buttons? This way we don't have any background noise. We aren't recording. Thank you so much. And then if we allow you to talk and make comments, I'll let you know. But thank you so much, doctors, for doing that for other doctors and for the recording. All right, so we're going to look at attorneys, how to get involved with your attorneys. We have great attorney letters we send out. There's different times and different ways you can do that. Number 3, urgent care centers, MDs, and other areas do not want to deal with personal injury. They do not want to deal with personal injury. Let's see. Admit, we got some more coming in. So get out, give them your flyer card or what have you, and say, hey, we are specializing in personal injury. We got the technology, we got the education. So send your people over to us. Make a good relationship with the MDs, urgent cares, and centers. Now, what we did, an idea is patients come in with their insurance cards. They have primary doctors. Well, that's a key, and we can tell you how to do that, to get in touch with their doctors and make a referral base for personal injury. Of course, you can do your advertising. These days, the yellow pages are pretty much out the window. It's pretty funny. Back in the days, we all fought for the AAA to be on the A list, so you could be number 1. Cost you thousands of dollars per month. These days, it's all social media. If you can get out in your community with Facebook ads or LinkedIn or whatever, let people know that you do personal injury. You can get a good layer of endorsements out there for your practices. And that would be in the advertising field. There's lots of presentations we have done in our community on some social media specialties and personalities. Be sure to get a hold of those as we put them out there. All right, so let's look at the general categories of personal injury. And like I said, I'm going to hit the surface on a lot of these just for great education. We put this all together. I've taught this at conventions at Logan U and a lot of other different state associations. So let's look at the categories. Number 1, automobile, others at fault. That's what most of you are going to get into your offices. Somebody else's fault. They hit them from behind. They're texting. Boom. They come in your office. They know you do injury or you need to evaluate them. So they come in, and now that they're a patient in personal injury. 2, you have automobile work-related injuries. Now, what is that? Automobile work, which basically means I'm at work, I'm taking a automobile that is a work vehicle, and I get hit, I'm in an accident. Well, that is a automobile work-related personal injury category. And that's kind of sometimes can be challenging and confusing, because now you can put it in a work comp, can be involved in a liability at the same time. So we go over and we'll tell you all about how to deal with those situations, because those get kind of interesting as you get the information. So the third category would be a work injury, workers' comp. Different states are different in work comp. In Missouri here, the employer has to agree and sign to allow that patient to go to your office in a work comp injury. So that's basically if they have an injury at work, or actually number 2 stated, automobile, they're in a work automobile and get injured. So that would be a work comp situation. The 4th is falls. Falls, of course, slip and falls at grocery stores. There's water on the floor, different places. It's at wintertime now. If you don't clean your sidewalks and your driveways, and a person falls on it, breaks their leg or something, you are liable, believe it or not, as a homeowner. So you got to, they don't cover you, but they cover everybody else. So that's falls. Of course, you all would experience that. Number 5, a category is other other things that apply to personal injury. Pedestrians getting hit with cars or bikes, a motorcycle accident, 18-wheeler accidents, things like that will fit into these categories. So you have 5 different categories that you will see come into your office in personal injury. All right, so let's look a little bit about the personal injury procedures. The first thing always, of course, very general and common is you want to get the accident history and report what happened the day the accident happened, what ideas that the patient comes in with, how they're injured, and the history and the consultation report. We all need to do that. We all probably do that, but that's just point number 1. You're going to have multiple insurance companies that can be involved in a personal injury case. This is a little more challenging, a little bit more complex, because it's just not, hey, I have health insurance, here's my 20% copay, and this is what they cover. Now you have the person who is at fault insurance company, which is third party or liability. Now you have the patient's their own automobile med pay if they bought it. You also have their health insurance that they have to work, or possibly we call it Obamacare, I guess these days still. And you can have the spouse's insurance that covers the person also. So there's 4 possible coverages. And of course, in different states, it acts in different ways. In Missouri, you can claim all 4 of those if they pay a contracted benefit to those insurance companies. They get the benefits. And we've cleared that with the Division State Insurance Division of Insurance is what I'm trying to say, and also a lot of other factors that come involved in this. So multiple insurance companies can be involved. Liability first, med pay, auto, health insurance, and the spouse's insurance. So make sure you make a note of that, that those coverages can come in. There's different coverages you look for personal injury. The different coverages are basically is the automobile medical pay. Most people have 1,000 to 5,000, some have 10,000. Believe it or not, I had an Asian family, they had $100,000 of medical pay that was on their policy. First time ever I've ever seen that. It's usually about 5 to 10 is what we see, and we recommend to our patients if they're asking, what should I have in my policies? A minimum 10 for sure. Doesn't cost that much. I think mine this year is $24 for $10,000 of coverage for all my family. So if you look at the policies, and it's funny to me that the agents do not even explain what this is to them. They just figure I got all coverages. Of course, we know what MedPay is. All right, so we're also going to go over general office forms that can be used. You have usually your own general forms that you basically use for your patient intake, and so you need to use those. We have ours in a package, PI package, with this systematic approach to the PI course that we are launching and having give to a lot of the doctors in our PI Doctors Elite community. Okay, you got to get medical records and other different itemizations from other companies that the patient's been to. Most of the time, the attorneys will get those, and the third-party adjusters if there's no attorney. But sometimes you might want to get hold of those just to get it all packaged up for the third party for easy settlement. So those are the personal injury, few of the procedures. Let's move on to the treatment procedures, case management. All right, you're always going to do a consultation, exam, and findings, and you're going to give a follow-up report of findings and pretty much diagnose the condition and also set up their treatment plan. Now, there's a couple things I want to mention as tips and points. We always talk about patient compliance in PI cases. They're not showing up. They're not coming in. They're just here for the money. That is the case sometimes, but also you have to treat the patient's health conditions because you are the doctor that has initiated the treatment plans. So I would, at all times at final report, let the patient know, and it happens, that you are going to have to give the defense team or the defense side your treatment plan. Always tell them up front because they will follow that plan, because if they know the defense has that plan, and it has happened numerous times in my cases where the patient doesn't show up, has no excuses, and their settlement just went downhill, or they didn't get settlement at all because they figured they weren't hurt. They didn't go to the doctor's appointment. So a key point in your final report, hey, look, you're supposed to be here, every day for the next 10 days, 2 weeks, or 12 weeks, or whatever your treatment plan might be. This report goes to the defense. They know your treatment plan, so do not miss an appointment if you can help it. If you do, I need to put down some documentation of why. If you just don't show up and never show up for your treatment, they're going to use that against you. And that's just a tip that I've given many, many doctors. And it's actually a tip from our attorney mentors that said, look, they got to be at their treatment because it brings the evaluation to where it's supposed to be. And that's your patient compliance up to the release time. So just remember that up front, and you will knock out a lot of the incompliance of the patients if you let them know, because now it works against them in their pocket. And when it affects them, they do something about it, and it's easier for you to get your treatment plans in and get them finished, stabilized, released, so everybody can be happy and get payment and move on. All right, let's talk about 2 or more accidents. Let me go down here. 2 or more accidents in a case. We've seen this on the doctor's community where I have a patient, I'm treating the first accident, and boom, 3 weeks later, they have another accident. What do? Close the first accident? No, you don't close the first accident. You keep the first accident open because you're still in a treatment plan. You run a new file, it's like a new patient, only with the same name, another file, and you evaluate if the first accident has been exacerbated by the second accident in their injuries. This is where you really become a doctor. And you have another file that you open up with any new injuries that you will document. So now you have 2 accident PI cases with the same person or the same name, only in 2 different stages of time that the accidents happen. So you have 2 accident dates, you have 2 examinations, you have 2 treatment plans if needed, and you also have all the insurance coverages that you have to collect. Of course, the first accident, you will collect all that information we talked about. And the second accident, you might have a whole set of new, other than maybe the patient's med pay or automobile insurance and health insurance, you might have a whole new liability insurance situation, or a whole new attorney. So, or might have the same attorney. So you have to set up multiple files or different files for each accident date. Oh yes, in 3 weeks from now, if they get hit again, you got 3 files that you'll open up. Funny part about this, which is kind of actually cool if you didn't know about it, the med pay will cover all 3 cases and all new claims. So just keep that involved. In other words, if they got 5,000 on the first accident, they'll cover 5,000 of everybody in that car. On the first accident date, second accident date, another $5,000 for everybody in that. And if it's a third or fourth or fifth accident date, they will cover all that on total amount of med pay coverage. Don't let them tell you that differently if that happens. But that's how you set up the multiple. Now, let me give you a couple tips on how to treat these multiple files, especially the 2. Let's just talk about 2. 2 is going to be more common than 3 or 4, but it happens with 3 or 4. I've had as many as 5. It's crazy. So let's say your first accident you're treating, and you get a patient into another accident date, and they have new injuries as opposed to the same injuries they had on the first accident. The thing you have to do is separate the treatment days. One day is going to be treatment for that accident, first accident date. Then maybe the next day or every other date, they're going to have treatment for the second accident date. So you separate the treatments out. Do not treat both accident dates on the same visit. Very, very important to document that, because that will overlap if you do that, and the defense attorneys go after that really quick. So just separate it, like Monday is accident date, first accident date, Tuesday is second accident date, Wednesday is the first accident date, maybe Friday is the first, you just do every other. And treat those injuries and document that you're treating those for those accident dates. I hope that I came across that pretty clear. But that's how you can treat continuing accident dates where you have to close the first one. You just continue treatment on your treatment plan on the first one. And then you got the other one open, you treat on a different date. Never treat the same injuries on both accidents on the same date. Very, very important for documentation and for the defense file to not get a hold of that and use it against you. They will look for loopholes and things like that, that devaluates your care, your patient, and the settlement. So look for that. Your practice procedures, whatever you do in your practice procedures, that's how you set it up. I pretty much just went over that. Where it's separation of injuries on different days for different accident days. All right, payment procedures. Let's look at that. We are looking at settlement payment through patient and or the claim specialist. This is basically no attorney involved. You will go through your diagnosis, your treatment plan, you gather all your documentation and your health costs, and you ship them off to the third-party adjuster, and they will settle that claim with the patient. Now, it's very, very important that you have your liens in place, and we're going to go over that in a little bit here when the patient comes in your office of what I will do in a minute. But I just wanted to give you an outline of the full procedures of a PI case. So you're going to get payment through the claim specialist or the patient, more likely through a lien through the third-party patient, third-party adjuster straight directly to your office if there's no attorney. You're going to get a payment through your attorney's office, that off the attorney that's representing the patient. You will get payment directly to them. And as you see on the doctor's community, there's all kinds of hassles of they're reducing your bill, and we're going to show you how to deal with that also. So, but that's how you will get paid, the two ways. Number 3, handling a question of an attorney reducing your health care costs. We go through all of that. There's all different ways you can deal with that. The first thing I will tell you is to always get the order of disbursement before you reduce. All right, we're getting a little bit of background noise. If we can get you to mute, thank you for joining us. We are talking about personal injury steps of procedure in a personal injury case. And we'd like everybody to, we are in a recording session, which is cool. So this way we can have this recording to give to all of the doctors. So we are continuing on handling, reducing your healthcare costs, get the order of disbursement. Well, what is that? Order of disbursement is basically, hey, I have a lien on mine. My patient signed my lien, my protective forms. I'm going to ask you, if you ask me to reduce anything, 1 cent, 50 cents, that I want that order of disbursement. I want to see what the settlement was, all the expenses, and what the patient's going to net out. Just because they throw a verbal at you doesn't mean you have to reduce anything. Get it in writing. If they don't want to give it to you in writing, have the patient get it. They're loving to get that breakdown so they can see it all. I've had cases where patients netting out $100,000, $200,000, and they want to reduce my bill $5,000 or $10,000. Of course, if they don't reduce theirs a dime, but you want to see that. And if they don't give it to you, something's up where they're not allowing you to see what the real transparency is. So make sure the order of disbursement, you've seen it a million times from me on the doctor's community to ask for that before you reduce anything. And we go over all of that. So in the systematic approach. So, all right, establishing continued personal injury. You want to do, your normal, consistent weekly, monthly emails, texts, and social media if you have it in place. If not, you might want to put something together. Continuous exposure that you do personal injury always brings in cases in your office to apply your personal injury procedures to and build your case. So, all right, you want to contact and continue to keep that going through your patients, attorneys, and MDs. Now, let me ask you this. If you had 250 attorneys that you connected with over the next 5 years and just 10 or 15 sent you one a month or two a month, you already got 20 to 30 PI cases coming in automatically. That's just with 15 or 20 attorneys. So we go through how to connect with the attorneys and they connect with you. And you can get a good rapport with them and build that attorney base of connecting where you can just put it on automatic pilot where they start sending you 10, 15, 20 a month. And, you know, if your cases average between 25 to 10,000 bucks, you've got a pretty good PI percentage coming in already, not counting all the other general patients that you do treat. So always keep your patients, attorneys, and MDs educated. Hey, look, number 3 at collision centers. Never thought about that. Where does the patients or where does the people take their cars when they get hit? To collision centers. Have you ever thought about looking around your office and contacting the general managers or the owners of the collision centers? That's where all the injured people take their cars. They get injured cars fixed. Contact them. That's a great referral. One of the doctors, I went somewhere and he asked me, do you ever talk to collision centers? I says, no. And when we start talking with collision centers, we got a ton of referrals from the collision centers. They're all over the place. And what we do is we just get a copy, and we'll give you the copy in the program, what to do in case of an automobile accident. And you give them to the collision centers to put in all their cars, and it has their name on it for advertisement, and it has you as the doctor on it in the glove compartments or somewhere in the car. They love for you to pay for their advertisement and the patients to come back to them in the injured cars, and you love them to come to you in injured necks and backs and arms and everything else that happens in an accident. So collision centers is a secret tap-in system that you will get lots and lots of PI cases because that's where they're all at. So that's just a good old point for a little bit of continued advertisement and exposure for personal injury. Education in your office, we covered. Make sure your office has education that you do personal injury. Again, patients do not know sometimes that your office does the accident cases. They go to different facilities like urgent cares, hospitals, primary doctors, and end up, wow, I didn't know you did that. And you're losing all your patients, family, friends, and relatives that you can treat in personal injury. Quick drink there, cracking up here. All right, so let's see what's next here. All right, always the cool depositions and expert testimonies. We cover all that in this systematic procedure course that we're going over now. The fee average for depositions, very sporadic all over the states and your cities and counties. I know Missouri here on an average, they're looking at $800 to $1,200 for just a deposition. For a video deposition, they are looking at $1,500 to $1,700 video now. And then your full testimonies are going now from $2,000 to $3,000. And it's based on your time away from your office, always base it on your time away from your office, away from your patients, and the income that you basically can earn not being in your office treating patients. The defense will ask you every time, you're getting paid for this, right? You're getting paid for this. Yes, but I'm away from my office. I do not see my patients. And so it's based on the income per hour or whatever you charge. And believe me, always get the first 1 or 2 hours up front before you move anywhere. These attorneys are notorious for continuing the case, don't have the case, don't have the depots, and you lose out of a whole day because of that. And it's non-refundable. Do not refund nothing after they pay you up front. You will keep them in line. You will make sure that deposition or video deposition is done that day, or else they pay you again. They need your expertise. They need your education. They need your imaging to prove the case for a better settlement for their patients. So be aware that you are an important factor. Again, prepayment all the time. before any kind of depositions or video deps. Testifying in court, this is a lot bigger situation where you're definitely in traveling, you're out of your offices, you're going to a courtroom. So these render more to about $2,000 to $3,000 I've seen average now. I'm not telling you to charge that. This is just an average in Missouri we're seeing these days. So you have to make sure, you get a court date. A lot of times these days, they don't even want to go to the expense of doing a courtroom situation if it's worth it. If it's really, really worth it, they will. But that's when you will testify, and you're an important aspect in their settlement. So as an expert witness. Number 3, subjects to cover in testifying. You're going to know that. You're going to, cover the diagnosis, how you came up to the diagnosis, why you had the diagnosis, why you did a treatment plan, imaging, anything you can to show them why this patient was injured and why you had to treat him for the health cost. All right, now, a couple tips on the health cost. Let me ask you this. If I was in the courtroom and the defense attorney asked me that my bill was $5,000, which is really a first visit in a hospital, but that is a lot of money. Doctor, why you charge $5,000? I said, well, that's not my bill. And he looks at me like, it's not your bill. He waves it in front of my face. He says $5,000. I said, that's not my bill. Well, the secret of that we'll teach you is that you categorize your health costs. Categorize into little bitty amounts. So my bill was maybe my treatment, adjusting or whatever you do, traction adjusting as a doctor to the patient. That might run to $400 for that treatment case. Your imaging department now has maybe the most of it, $2,500 to $3,000 with the imaging. So now you have 2 categorized departments that you break down that this defense attorney doesn't see it coming at him. But you are educated to know that you're going to break it down. Hey, hospitals do it, health facilities do it. They got an imaging department, they got a doctor's department, they got a physical therapy department. And saying that, you have physical therapy. So now you have a doctor's department, imaging department, physical therapy department. One of those 3 fees equal $5,000. So now you break it down. I'm just going to give you that tip. There's more into that course that we give you how to do that. And it's the best thing ever when you're sitting up there waiting for them to go after your fees and you know this is coming. Now, you will alert the plaintiff attorney before you do this because he's going to love this because he'll come back up and say, hey, Dr. Tony, would you elaborate on these departments? And it just blows all the health cost field of defense out of the water, and it really helps you out. So remember, departmentalize your health costs. I try to get some of the software companies, ChiroTouch, EasyBiz, to try to do some of this. They're working on it because that would be great for you just to print out, the departments and then have every little department have its own cost. But you in your full office, you have those departments. You have your doctor's visits, you see your patients, you have your imaging, your x-ray, your MRIs, if you have an MRI, or if you have a fluoroscopy, and you have physical therapy. So instead of bunching it all up to one big fee, break it down. It makes it a lot easier, and that's pretty cool. That's subjects to cover and testify. All right, so here's just a couple of references that I've learned a lot from. Think and Grow Rich, of course, is a great book by Napoleon Hill. Winning Through Intimidation is a good book to read to when you get intimidated by, if you ever get intimidated by attorneys either way. And Wake the Sleeping Giant, of course, Tony Robbins is big out there. And then Your Best Life is just a good motivational personal success by Joel Osteen, if you like Joel out there. All right, so let's go to let's go through. So what I did was outline the actual systematic approach course of what it all covers. And I'm covering a lot of this for you pretty much on the surface. But let's go through an actual case, the 21 steps. There are about 21 steps real quick. And this is pretty cool. So the personal injury practice success procedure checklist. And we're going to probably give you a copy of this so way you can just have your staff or you just check off the list as you go through, so you don't miss some of the steps in this. So we put this together to teach a lot of our associates and our doctors how to do personal injury. And now we're going to bring it into our doctors' elite community. So the checklist is basically on the first step, your personal injury patient. So when you get all these personal injury cases from our outline I just showed you, the personal injury patient schedules in, you're going to tell them all to bring in that information, as much information as you can. This will allow them to get that information to you. You try to get all that information on the first or second visit at the latest. Why? If the patient never shows up for the second visit, you've got all their information that you can get paid. Number one priority. Oh, we can get it later. No, don't tell your staff you get it the first day, and that's why you tell them to bring all the information in if they can get it. All right. Number two, check to see who they were referred by, obviously. Was it by a phone call? Was it by somebody else? Was it by an attorney? And you want to call and thank them for that, or if you send out thank you cards, normal management stuff via Parker and other management companies will tell you to always thank the referring party that they referred a patient to UPI. If an attorney's already, if they have an attorney already, make contact with the attorney. The biggest missing element I see with our personal injury doctors is they do not even contact the attorney. They just go with the flow with paperwork, never know who the attorney is, never get a personality, never get a feel for how their personality is, or if they're even 100% attorney. So always make contact, make a phone call. If you're in that local area, drop by, say hi, get a card. This makes a big difference. I mean, you go out for meetings and lunches these days sometimes. I don't know if you do or not, but just drop by and get their card. This will make an impression if you want to get referrals from PI attorneys, but always know who the attorney is. Is it defense attorney? Is it a plaintiff attorney? Is it a divorce attorney, a state attorney, tax attorney, or personal injury? 100% PI. And if the patient especially comes in with an attorney, as you know, a lot of the patients that come in with their attorneys are not personal injury attorneys. They're just the state attorney or family attorney. So be aware of the attorney. All right, let's go to no attorney. If it's a liability adjuster, make contact with the liability adjuster. Communicate. Don't just send forms and liens and email things in and out. Know who the adjuster is, their name, and always get a good rapport. You will get paid faster. You will get paid if you get to know these people through communication. It's very important. I know you don't like to confront things these days, but that's the best confrontation you're ever going to get, is to know these people, the attorney and the third-party adjuster. You get paid really quick. You got to know the name, the claim number, contact numbers, including the fax numbers if you do faxing anymore. Fax is kind of going out the window. It's all on the compliance email now if you do that. But they are still faxing things back and forth. All right, collect and copy all the insurance card, medical, auto, and liability information from your patient that day. If they have an attorney, they will handle the liability. Get the attorney information. You know, it's first grade stuff, first grade procedure, but a lot of doctors don't do that, or their staff does not do that. You have to get it on the first or second visit, get that information. Very, very important. All right, next step is you're going to file the patient's insurance coverages and auto med pay with the assignment for cash to flow to your office. So it's cash flow to your practice. So find out if they have automobile med pay or PIP on their automobile insurance. You'll see it all the time on their cards if they have it. State Farm is very easy to read. I mean, Progressive and all that, they have them. AAA is some of the ones that are out there. But make sure that you have it or they don't have it. You can call to verify. And this is the patient's own insurance that you can start filing right away to get cash flow into your offices while you're on treatment plan. The liability obviously will take the longest to pay since they're waiting for you to finish treatment, get the files, health costs, and documentation over to the third-party adjuster or the attorney to make the settlement. As you know, it can be 6 months, a year, 2 years, and Missouri, the liability statute is 5 years. And yes, we have some cases sitting out there for a long time. You have to have all that information for them to get that settled. So make sure you get all that information from your patients and you can start filing their MedPay and health insurance. Now, we tell you how to deal with the patient when they resist that. It's very easy. You basically have a contract, you pay for a premium and you get the coverage. It's as simple as that. Hey, look, you got 3 life insurances, your spouse, God forbid they die, you're going to collect 1, right? No, they're going to collect 3. Same phenomenon, same philosophy we give them in our office. And they start going, wow, I can do that? Yes. It's not your fault. Somebody else has paid for this insurance. They will cover your car. They'll cover your car damages. They will cover your health costs, medication, anything you need in this case. That's what they have it for. So you have to separate that out and explain it to them, sometimes either through a great staff member or yourself as a doctor to help them along. But always check with your state for your laws for the filing or your if you have a outsourcing billing people, you can check with them also. So that's just some general information you need to file those. If patients have police reports, great to get a copy of. Not always necessary. The attorney will have it, but it's always great to have so you kind of review for sure and the schematics of the cars, where they were, whose fault it is. But it's always nice to have in the file if you carry a file still, or it goes electronically scanned. All right, protection forms are signed and financial agreements on the first visit for the file. These are your financial forms that they sign that they agree to pay 100% of your health costs, that you accept them as a patient. The lien form is the ones that will go to the third party to get direct payment. And your assignment form is only related to the patient's MedPay, auto, or health insurance. Do not send an assignment form to a third-party liability. They do not have to honor that. That is an assignment form, is assigning the patient's benefits they own to you. Big, always a big mistake in doctors' offices. They're sending assignment forms to liability adjusters. The liability adjusters laugh and say, I don't have to honor this. I don't have a lien, so they're going to send the money to the patients, and they do because they thought they had a lien form, but it was an assignment form. Remember, an assignment form is assigning the patients their own benefits to your office to be paid. The lien or protection lien form goes to the third-party liability adjuster or the attorney that protects your bill to get paid. I want to make that clear in this presentation because that is a big mistake that a lot of doctors are not educating that they don't get, and they're sending assignment forms to liabilities, and liabilities are paying the patients, or the attorneys aren't, because they're looking at that saying, well, they're not protected, and that's what happens. Then you got to go through all the steps, try to collect from the patient, which is a whole nother story. Anyway, protection forms, get the financial agreements all signed and in place that first day. This way you don't have to worry about all that chasing stuff down the line. Review accident case for history and liability strength. You will know whether it's a strong case, a weak case, not a case, get rid of the case when that patient comes in. After talking with them, examining them, lingering tests, whatever you do on these cases. So make sure you know the feel of that case. Every PI case has its personality, as you know that. So you can put the PI puzzle together. Always give your patient a courtesy call. That is a very primary one step learned way back when, that when the patient comes in, they go home, you give them a little courtesy call, see how they're doing. If you want to lock in a patient-doctor relationship, just do that. and especially do it on a holiday when they don't expect a call and you're calling on Father's Day or Valentine's Day or a day they don't expect it. You will always get a doctor-patient relationship with a follow-up call. And guess what? They're going to tell like 10 other people that my doctor called me on Father's Day, on Labor Day or whatever. And all of a sudden you get 10 referrals in because you were the guy or gal that called them on a simple follow-up patient call. All right, so referral attorney if needed. The referral to an attorney if needed on the second visit to initiate the case for representation. All right, so if an attorney is needed, do not give the patient one of your attorneys until you go over the diagnosis and see that the case is well worth an attorney's fee to represent them. And that's what that basically represents. All right, so let's see, let's continue on. Bring it up closer. Okay, so you go through the first visit, you got everything signed, you got it in place, you're ready to do your follow-up visit and do a final report on the findings, and you're going to do a follow-up treatment, stabilize the patient's conditions, and you're going to do the treatment plan as much as they can and you can to completion. Remember to mention the process, how important it is to follow up through the benefit for their health and the benefit that the defense will get these treatment plans knowing that you have follow-ups for your conditions. So very important. All right, so you go through the treatment plan and you get them down to stabilization. With your education, you know when to do that. And we say 90, 95% pretty well stabilized. You're going to get them released so you get everything going to the attorney or third party to get the settlement. I want you all, very important, to put patient is released under observation. Why do I say that? If you give them a complete one date that the patient is released, and this is the date, the defense on the other side will hold you to that date. So in other words, patient release, such and such a date, they're released. Oh man, 2 weeks from now, the patient comes in with a exacerbation of the same area. Can you bring them underneath the accident? You're going to have a hard time doing that to add any more health costs because you released them on that date. If you put released under observation, now you're observing the patient without an appointment. And now, because of you put that one little sentence in there, you can bring them back right underneath that accident date, start treating again, and have a whole new file with the health costs adding to the other health costs. It happens all the time. You know, patients come in, they slip and fall, or they lift something, and all of a sudden it gets exacerbated with the same accident injury areas. But now this is very important to bring them back under the accident date that you can now treat them under the accident again. And the med pay is still initiated because you just related it back to the accident date. And if there's any coverages, you also get paid. Remember, if you just put release in a date, they're going to hold you to that date because you're the doctor. Release under observation opens it up just in case the patient has to come back in. Very big question. A lot of docs has asked me, how do I do that? I just told you. Very important. Okay, you're going to contact the attorney or liability adjuster and inform them of the release under observation. Make a communications contact with the attorney saying, look, we're just about done. We're going to start sending everything to you. Be aware, here comes the health costs, here comes the notes, and we still have our lien for direct payment. And by the way, going over the liens to the attorneys and adjusters, our first one is always a registered certified mail, so we know they received it. This verbal, I didn't get it, or you didn't send it to me, is starts to be BS. But when you got a paid receipt that they received it and you have a receipt, you got them documented that they received. And this is the first time it goes. I would do that. The rest of the times, they get another one when they get the health records, either by email, fax, or whatever you send them they get another lien. The more liens you can send them to let them know you're getting paid by the settlement, the better off you are. Just don't assume they received it, because, and also the patient gets a copy of it. The patients ought to know what they signed. A lot of times we collect dust with their signatures and files and electronic files, and patients forget that they signed all this. So make sure they get a copy of it too. So the records are requested. Go ahead and request, have them request the records to be prepaid. Now, there's been a lot of talk. Well, this patient refers a lot of patients to me. I don't want to charge him for records. That's okay. I don't really care whether you do or not. We do, and we get paid every time. It's normal procedure here in Missouri. And you go by the state statutes, they allow you so much for your records to be prepaid by the attorney or whoever's asking for your records. You take time to research them. You pay staff payroll to do that, to get them out, get them ready, and to get them over to them. So that's what you get paid for, not because it's a bunch of pieces of paper or electronic over the internet. So get paid, prepaid. If you want to use your state statute, just go to the record copies in your state, and they should tell you what you can charge. You can always get them prepaid. The reason why is they lose them sometimes. Well, we didn't get the records. Yes, you did on this such and such a date. Make them pay for them again. This is not a Mickey Mouse show where they got to do all their work for them. I get mean because I've done this over and over in the past years and been taken a lot of times. And I don't want you all to be taken like that. I want you to be strong to your policies and to be prepaid for what the work you do, because your time is valuable. Remember the days when you went to school, blood, sweat, and tears? Well, just remember those days. Now it's time to shine and get paid for what you're worth. Okay. And they all said yes, they agree. All right, records sent with signed patient liens and payment agreement. Also, I just mentioned that earlier, to ensure your name is on the checks. Send health cost itemizations without balances to the attorney. Very important point. Attorneys do not want they do want the balance due if you got other coverages paying for it, but they're going to submit the total health cost because the other third-party liability at fault is liable for the full health cost, not just the balance. So they want the full health costs of that patient, but they also would like to know what is left on the case to be paid if there's med pay or health insurance that paid it down. So they get an idea of where they're at in their settlements. So always send the attorneys the full balances or the full cost of your healthcare costs in the case, and not just the balances. If it's just liability adjusters, send without balances, to send the total amount because they're due 100% of the health costs, regardless of what the patient's others insurance companies pay. The patient has an insurance, it says that's a benefit, that's a bonus, because it actually gets you paid before the liability, and it also actually puts more settlement money to say to the patient's pocket, because they doesn't have to come to you because it's been paid already. Some will have subrogation, some won't. Only because they pay a contracted benefit amount, they get paid the benefits. A lot of states are different in that aspect, so you need to check that out. All right, you're going to do a final review with the documents included, healthcare cost protections forms and forms sending. Make sure the liens are in there, the forms are signed by everybody, and the health costs, the documentation, the notes. It's a nice big package birthday present, and you're going to ship it off to the third party adjusters or the attorneys so they can now present it for their evaluation for the settlement. I would, if you're local, if you have local attorneys around, I used to love to deliver these by person. And the reason why is it just the rapport of the attorney, knowing that you took time to even walk in their office and hand them the packet, gives you a way above the list for referrals. They like stuff like that. It's called a cinch by the inch, is what I say. A cinch by the inch is little things that produces big things. So if you're going to sit back in your office when it's like 2 blocks down the road, take 2 blocks and deliver it in person. And also take a couple of those cards and give them your cards. So The old established days come back to life in good communication with attorneys. Remember, 200 attorneys, all you need is 10 or 12 every month to send you 2 or 3, and you got a pretty good PI practice. All right, so it's important to follow up here to make sure when settlement payment is made, it should be directly come to your office per patient's authorization and signatures, and they should know that. Everybody should have their signed liens, direct payment in their offices. Now, what you do then is staff members or yourself should have a log, and you should follow up every 15 to 30 days to make sure all is in progress. What some of these doctors do is they just sit back and assume it's going to be settled. Squeaky wheel gets the grease, so the grease gets the squeaky wheel, whatever how you say that. The more insight in mind, the faster it gets paid. You know why? Because your case becomes on the bottom, on the bottom, on the bottom, when the new cases come up on top, and you're now on top because you, every couple of weeks, every 30 days, you are following up. It could be a staff member, it can be you, it can be anybody, just do a follow-up. And finally, the payment is made by the attorney or liability, and with or without reductions that are made that you agree on. And again, order of disbursement is where you want to be before you reduce anything to any attorneys. Okay, so move to the final steps here. This has been really a good follow-up here. Reductions negotiated, including after that last sentence. You will negotiate whether you want referrals or reductions in any of the cases. You know, if an attorney refers a lot of cases, they make a lot of income, you can negotiate maybe, but still get the order of disbursement. Case is closed for a liability. Accident file patient is converted into a general follow-up care patient. That's the hardest thing to do sometimes, is to educate the patient. Hey, your settlement's over. Now you need general care, and you need to follow up that patient every couple months, every month, whatever you feel based on injuries, ligaments, whatever joints that they were injured as follow-up. You know, like dentistry, I guess, every 6 months to a year, you get your follow-up just to keep them in the practice. Why? They refer people, they're good to you, they'll stay loyal to you as their doctor, and basically they have good health care through your office. Now, some of the med pays, believe it or not, will cover definitely 1 year from the accident date. Here around Missouri, State Farm covers 3 years of the accident date if there's any coverage left. Just make a note of that for our Missouri doctors that are on this call or on this presentation. So these are some of the general basic success procedures guidelines we have put together for follow through most PI cases. As always, some cases can take on different twists and turns, obviously, and you never know until you get to that point. But if you keep check on all the organized steps that I've got here, you will have a lot of success in your personal injury practice. This is a great outline to share with your staff on staff meetings, to basically train them on the steps. So basically you can use this checklist to check everything off and go with that. So let's see what we got next. Oh, personal injury emblem, cool. All right, so let's go to this. So we got all this I covered. We got the systematic approach to personal injuries, brand new out. It's a visual. It's got everything, all the forms you need, and everything you need to follow through, all the outlines, things we talked about in more detail. There's PI marketing for patients and PI attorneys. We got the attorney letters. We got protection lien forms that included in the system, patient compliance, how to do it, all that, more detailed attorney reduction responses, letters and things you can send attorneys, payment, follow procedures, actions to take whenever the attorney and patients run off with your check. That's big. I got a lot of great ideas and tips for that. You can go up to 5 years to send them this letter, collection letter, that allows them to pay you 5 years in your files. If you got files that are 5 years old, statute of limitations, and they collected money and you haven't received it yet, this is what you want to do to get that money. We've had patients 4 years ago collect $4,000 or $5,000, and we sent them this letter, and they were in the office paying their bill for that amount 4 years ago. Spent it already. How to categorize your health costs, fees to beat the defense. We went over that. Deposition trial tips we go over all the time, and every procedure step from the patient's first visit to getting paid. That this system goes over. I'm going to send you all a link. You can go to the educational website we have set up, and you can pick it up there, and you can go forth and be the best in personal injury. I don't know where my Zoom is. Here I am. And we're going to stop sharing. Just get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Nope, not that. That. And stop sharing and get back to me there. All right. So Dr. Tony, your administrator and founder. Hey, we started about a year or two ago, maybe, can't even remember, what, 6 doctors on this. There's practically pre-COVID, just to give you an idea of the history. 6 doctors joined in with this membership. We're at almost a 4,000 member mark in the personal injury doctors league community. We only allow licensed doctors doing personal injury in this. There is a few sponsors we add into this that has supported us with educational programs and sessions. You'll see, but that is it. It's all doctors, all personal injury doctors, and we include all you in it. Thank you always for sharing your comments. I even sent out a birthday list. You might have got one. That's how close we are as friends, and to communicate with each other and all our personal injury needs. So the personal injury website will be sent over to you. You can pick up that whole system for your office for staff training. And basically I gave you most of the outline that it will cover, and it's a cool thing. So if you're looking for something to place permanently in your office for personal injury procedures, if you're going to continue on with personal injury, which we hope you do, and add much, much bigger percentages to your offices, pick up that, grab that link and go and get the systematic approach to personal injury with all that great stuff on it. All right, this is Dr. Tony, your administrator. We are completed tonight. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for your time. And hopefully a little bit of these points and tips that I gave you can make a difference. You know, even if you knew how to get the check back from the patient, the value of this systematic approach course with this outliner, the tips I gave you even today, is worth it. And it's not a whole lot. It's just enough to support some of our community. So, and to train your staff. It's a lot cheaper than going to a weekend seminar. But a lot of you might be at Parker next week. Hopefully I'll be there. But anyway, glad you can make it. I made it complimentary so we can at least give you some good education of all my experience, of all the money I lost that you don't have to do because I trained a little bit of you and your staff on these points of personal injury. I'm going to let y'all go. Have a great evening, and we'll see you on the PI Doctors Elite community. Make sure you refer any of your colleagues to our PI Doctors Elite community. Great information. As you know, if you're active on there, we got 15 to 2,000 active doctors every single day communicating. So it's amazing. Out of the 4,000, that's high percentages. So and love giving the information out to you. So we'll let you go on your way. Hey, make it happen. Stay safe. Dr. Tony, your administrator and founder. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you down the line. The session has now ended. Ciao.